What's up? I'm Lily Revenge Crown, brings you the stories that keep you hooked. If that sounds good, smash subscribe and let's go.
My mother's Christmas dinner table looked like something from a magazine. White tablecloth, gold-rimmed china, centerpiece of pine branches and red berries. She'd spent 3 hours arranging that morning. 22 family members crowded around the extended dining table, passing dishes and pretending we all liked each other. I sat between Cousin Mike and his wife, wearing the green sweater my mother had texted me about. Festive but modest, she'd written. It's Christmas. Let's keep things pleasant. Pleasant. That was my mother's favorite word. Pleasant meant invisible. Pleasant meant don't mention anything that might make your father uncomfortable. Pleasant meant pretend your sister's teaching job was more impressive than your government career. Jennifer sat across from me in a red cashmere dress, holding court about her 4th grade classroom. The kids made me a card that said, "Best teacher ever." It's on my refrigerator. Teaching is just so rewarding, you know? Shaping young minds. My Aunt Susan nodded enthusiastically. That's real work. Making a difference in children's lives. I sipped my wine and said nothing. I'd learned years ago that defending my career to this family was pointless. They'd decided I was the boring daughter with the boring job, and no amount of explanation would change their minds. My father sat at the head of the table, carving turkey with practiced precision. Dr. Marcus Rivera. Retired surgeon. Pillar of the community. Board president of the Rivera Medical Outreach Initiative. Currently under federal investigation for embezzlement and wire fraud. None of them you. Not yet. Aunt Carol arrived late, apologizing about traffic from the airport. She hugged everyone, distributed gifts and settled into the empty seat beside me. My mother's older sister. A federal prosecutor in Chicago. The only lawyer in the family. Catherine. He kissed my cheek. I have been dying to talk to you. Congratulations on becoming Director of Compliance Oversight. The room went quiet. My sister's smile froze mid-sentence, her story about parent-teacher conferences dying on her lips. My parents exchanged panicked looks across the table. My father set down the carving knife. Director. I calmly straightened my napkin and turned to Aunt Carol. Thank you. The promotion came through in September. September. My mother's voice climbed an octave. You've been a director for 3 months? Actually, I was going to mention it at Thanksgiving, but everyone was so focused on Jennifer's classroom decorating project. Aunt Carol beamed. Youngest Director of Compliance Oversight in state history. I saw the announcement in the government newsletter. Your department manages oversight for $340 million in annual healthcare funding. That's extraordinary, Catherine. Cousin Mike leaned forward. What exactly does a Director of Compliance Oversight do? I supervise the team that reviews grant applications from nonprofit healthcare organizations. We determine which applications meet legal requirements and which ones need additional scrutiny. Final approval authority for grants up to $2.5 million. Anything larger goes to my signature plus the deputy secretary. My sister laughed nervously. That sounds administrative. It's investigative, Aunt Carol corrected. Catherine's department has referred 18 organizations to the IRS in the past year. 7 foundation directors are currently under indictment for fraud. Her team's work resulted in $12 million in recovered funds and 43 criminal charges. It's some of the most important oversight work in state government. My father's face had gone pale. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for his water glass. Aunt Carol continued, oblivious to the tension. Actually, Catherine, I wanted to ask you about one of your cases. The Rivera Medical Outreach Initiative investigation. That's your father's foundation, right? The turkey platter stopped mid-pass. Everyone stared. My mother's fork clattered against her plate. My father stood abruptly. I need to check on the dessert. Marcus, sit down. Aunt Carol's voice had shifted from warm to professional. Federal prosecutor mode. We should talk about this as a family. There's nothing to talk about. He remained standing. My foundation is being subjected to a routine audit. It's a misunderstanding. It's a criminal investigation. Aunt Carol pulled out her phone, scrolled to an email and read aloud. The United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District, in cooperation with the Internal Revenue Service Criminal Investigation Division, has opened a formal investigation into the Rivera Medical Outreach Initiative for alleged violations of IRS Code 4941, wire fraud under 18 U.S.C. 1343, and conspiracy to commit fraud. The foundation's director, Dr. Marcus Rivera, has been identified as a person of interest. My sister's face went white. What? Your father's foundation is under federal investigation for embezzling donor funds. Catherine's the one who initiated the referral. All eyes turned to me. I set down my wine glass. The foundation submitted a grant application to my department in August. During the review process, I identified financial irregularities. Missing documentation for $560,000 in claimed expenses. Payments to a consulting company that doesn't exist. Overhead percentages that violated federal guidelines. I denied the grant and referred the case to the IRS as required by law. My mother's voice shook. You reported your own father? I reported a foundation with evidence of financial fraud. The fact that my father runs it is irrelevant to my legal obligations. Legal obligations? My father's voice rose. I'm your father. You destroyed my life's work over paperwork. I destroyed nothing. You embezzled $560,000 from a charitable foundation. You created a fake consulting company to hide the theft. You used donor money for personal expenses. I didn't do that. You did. Jennifer stood up. Catherine, how could you? Do you know what this will do to our family? Do you know what Dad did to the families who donated to his foundation? They gave money to help sick people. He spent it on himself. Aunt Carol's expression was unreadable. Catherine, walk me through your investigation. I pulled out my phone, opened my work files, and displayed the evidence on the table like a presentation. Professional. Clinical. The way I'd done it 100 times in my office. The foundation's tax returns showed $850,000 in program expenses for 2023. I requested supporting documentation. They provided receipts for $290,000. The remaining $560,000 was listed as administrative costs with no itemization. I swiped to the next image. Rivera Healthcare Solutions received $150,000 in consulting fees. The company's business address is my parents' home. No business license. No tax returns. No employees. It's a shell company. Dad wrote checks to himself. My father sat down heavily. Those were legitimate consulting fees. For what services? The company has no website, no contracts, no deliverables. It exists only on your foundation's expense reports. Aunt Carol studied the documents. What else? The grant application requested $2.1 million for mobile medical clinics and equipment. But the foundation's existing clinics operated at 20% capacity. They didn't need expansion. They needed basic operational funding because Dad had already spent the operational budget on personal expenses. I showed them a photo. This is the used medical van the foundation claimed to purchase for $45,000 in 2022. It's actually a luxury RV Dad drives to his lake house every summer. I have the registration showing his personal ownership. My sister was crying. Why would you dig into this? Why couldn't you just approve the grant and move on? Because that's fraud, Jen. Because taxpayer money isn't supposed to fund my father's lake house trips. Because I took an oath to uphold the law, and that oath doesn't have an exception for family. My mother stood, hands shaking. You've always been jealous of your father. Always trying to prove you're smarter than him. This is revenge. This is my job. If Dad had submitted a clean application, I would have approved it in 2 weeks. He didn't. He submitted an application full of fraudulent expenses and fake documentation. I did what any compliance officer would do. Aunt Carol set down her phone. Marcus, you need a lawyer. A good one. Federal fraud charges carry serious prison time. I'm not going to prison. My father's voice cracked. This is a misunderstanding. The foundation's accountant made mistakes. I'll fix it. You can't fix embezzlement. You can't fix wire fraud. The IRS has your bank records. They have every transfer, every check, every expense. They know exactly where the money went. Aunt Carol's tone softened slightly. I can recommend some defense attorneys in the area. You should call one tonight. My father looked at me like I was a stranger. You really did this. You really destroyed everything. I did my job. You destroyed everything when you started stealing. He walked out of the dining room. I heard the front door open and close. His car starting in the driveway. My mother followed him, pausing at the door to look back at me. I hope you're proud of yourself. The room sat in silence. 22 people who'd come for turkey and small talk, now processing the fact that the family patriarch was a federal criminal and his boring daughter was the one who'd exposed him. Jennifer wiped her eyes. You could have warned us. You could have given us time to prepare. For what? Time to help him hide the evidence? Time to coordinate a cover story? Time to be a family? We haven't been a family in years, Jen. We've been a performance. Perfect surgeon father. Devoted teacher daughter. Disappointing government bureaucrat who doesn't matter. Except I do matter. My signature controls hundreds of millions in funding. My decisions have sent 7 people to prison. And when my own father committed fraud, I didn't look the other way because of DNA. Aunt Carol squeezed my hand. You did the right thing. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you did. Cousin Mike cleared his throat. So, should we eat dessert? The absurdity of it broke the tension. A few people laughed nervously. My Aunt Susan started clearing dinner plates. Uncle Bob opened another bottle of wine. The family slowly resumed functioning, moving around the elephant in the room. I helped clear the table, loading dishes into my mother's dishwasher while Jennifer stood in the doorway watching me like I might steal the silverware. How long have you known? She asked quietly. About the fraud? 6 months. I started the investigation in June when the grant application landed on my desk. And you never thought to talk to Dad? To give him a chance to explain? I gave him every chance. I requested documentation 4 times. I extended the review deadline twice. I personally called him and explained exactly what was missing. He could have come clean. He could have admitted the mistakes and worked with me to fix them. Instead, he submitted fake invoices and forged consulting contracts. He's our father. And I'm a compliance officer. I don't get to play favorites. The law doesn't care about family relationships. Jennifer was silent for a long moment. What's going to happen to him? Depends on what the IRS finds. If he cooperates, maybe 5 years in restitution. If he fights it and they prove intent to defraud, could be 12 years. Plus fines. Plus he'll lose his medical license, his foundation, his reputation. Because of you. Because of his choices. I didn't put the Porsche on the foundation's expense report. I didn't create a fake consulting company. I didn't embezzle $560,000. He did that. I just refused to ignore it. My mother returned without my father. She looked 10 years older than she had 2 hours ago. He's staying at the club tonight. He needs space. From me. From all of this. She started wrapping leftovers with shaking hands. Catherine, I need you to understand something. Your father built that foundation to help people. Yes, he made mistakes, but his intentions were good. Mom, intentions don't matter in fraud cases. Results matter. And the result is that sick people didn't get healthcare because Dad spent their donation money on luxury vehicles and lake houses. He dedicated his life to medicine. And then he stole from the people he was supposed to help. Those things can both be true. She stopped wrapping food and looked at me. Really looked at me. When did you become so hard? I'm not hard. I'm honest. There's a difference. 6 months later. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Federal courthouse. Wood paneling. American flag in the corner. I sat in the gallery watching my father stand between his defense attorneys as the judge read the plea agreement. Dr. Marcus Rivera, you have pleaded guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud and 1 count of tax evasion in connection with the embezzlement of $560,000 from the Rivera Medical Outreach Initiative. Do you understand the charges? My father's voice was barely audible. Yes, Your Honor. Pursuant to your cooperation with federal investigators and your agreement to pay full restitution, this court sentences you to 42 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years supervised release. You will pay $560,000 in restitution to defrauded donors plus $225,000 in fines. The Rivera Medical Outreach Initiative will be dissolved, assets liquidated and proceeds distributed to victims. The gavel fell. My father turned, looking for my mother in the crowd. She sat 3 rows behind me, tissue pressed to her face. They made eye contact. She nodded. He nodded back. He didn't look at me. I left the courthouse and drove back to my office. 17 new grant applications waited in my inbox. A rural clinic requesting diagnostic equipment. A community health center expanding mental health services. A mobile vaccination program for underserved areas. I opened the first application and started reading. That night Aunt Carol called. "How are you holding up?" "I'm fine." "You're allowed to not be fine. He's still your father. He's a convicted felon who embezzled from sick people. Those are both true. I can't change either one. Your mother called me. She wants to know if you'll come to family events. Does she want me there or does she just want things to look normal? Probably both. I thought about Christmas dinner. The white tablecloth. The gold-rimmed china. The performance of family harmony while everything collapsed underneath. Tell her I'll think about it. Catherine, for what it's worth, you did the right thing. 7 foundation directors are in prison because of investigations you initiated. Millions of dollars recovered. Thousands of people who will actually receive the healthcare they were promised. That matters more than one man's hurt feelings. Even if that man is my father? Especially then. Ethics only mean something when they cost you something. After we hung up, I poured a glass of wine and sat on my balcony watching the city lights. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. "Dad's in prison because of you. I hope you're happy." I deleted it without responding. Another text. "Uncle Bob. Proud of you, Catherine. What you did took guts." I saved that one. A third text. "My mother. Your father